This is Justice, and welcome to another Voice of JST. This time a bit more ranty, because this time I'm going to talk about something to do with competitive gameplay that I think is something that bothers me personally. I'm not sure if anyone else notices it, but this is one of those things that I feel like people fall prey to very easily, and it doesn't make any sense, really. The best way of explaining it is it's hubris. It's overconfident. And what I mean by that is when people play somebody and they have this in their mind that, oh, this person's a scrub or whatever, they end up playing stupid. Now, here's an example. If someone plays you, let's say you're a competent enough player, you're not the best player, you're not Evo worthy or whatever, but you're a competent enough player and you meet somebody to fight in a match, maybe it's online, maybe it's in real life, whatever, in whatever fighting game and or competitive game. And this person plays you, maybe beats you a round or two. And then, because they beat you or they got the drop on you, they think, okay, this person's a scrub. I can do whatever I want to him. That's the problem. People have this weird assumption that if somebody loses, then they're bad. Like, there's no... excuse me. People have this assumption that if somebody loses, then they're bad. There's no nuance to it. There's, you know, either you win and you're good, or you lose and you're bad. I mean, if you win, that's great, but even bad players can win. That doesn't mean they'll always win. And good players lose. That doesn't mean they'll always lose. So, saying that someone's good if they win and bad if they lose doesn't make any sense, because if you have that kind of mentality, what that means is you'll look at players who you think don't deserve to win because they've lost a bunch of times. You look at players who you think don't deserve to win because they've lost a bunch of times. You look at players who you think they don't deserve to win because they've lost a bunch of times, and you think, oh, well, I can just beat them free, and you end up underestimating people. Now, in a different situation, if someone plays someone, beats them a bunch of matches, and think, well, this person's a scrub, I can do whatever they want, they start playing stupid. You ever been in that situation where you're playing someone, and because they're beating you a few times, or they won a few rounds or a few games, suddenly they start playing in a completely stupid, risky way because they think they can do whatever they want. And then they mess up, and then they lose. And then they're like, oh, why did I lose? Oh, why did I lose to this person? I should be losing to this person. That's your problem right there. You thought this person was a scrub because you won a match or two, and you got cocky, you got overconfident. You think you figure them out. But then they downloaded you, and they beat you. That's why, in my opinion, you should never go into something with an assumption to begin with. If you play somebody, play them based on what they do, not what you think they are, or what you think they're doing, or you think what their skill level is. You know, don't look at a player and think, this person's too good for me, or this person's too bad for me. Go into a match and think, what are my skills? How can I apply it to this match? What, is it about this person that I can figure out? What tactics can I learn? If you play a quote-unquote good player, then, try your best, see how it goes. Maybe you'll lose, maybe you won't. Play a quote-unquote bad player, then maybe he'll learn something, maybe you'll learn something. He or she, that is. And what you'll get out from that is a much richer experience. But if you go into matches assuming things like, this person's a scrub, or this person's a this, or this person's a that, therefore I'm going to win, or, they're going to lose, then, you'll underestimate them, and they can get the drop on you. And then when you start losing, you'll start getting frustrated, like, oh, why is this person winning? I'm better than them, I should be winning, and you just keep going, you keep doing that. And you'll just let someone win. And I think this happens to a lot of people. And that's not good. Like, you shouldn't be playing anyone, regardless of their skill level, on the assumption that you have a right to win because you think you're better. If you want to be better, prove you're better. Play the match and win. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're good and that player's bad. No, it just means that you won. You overcame them, regardless of what their skill level is. Underestimating someone. But, underestimating someone just because you might have, as I said, beaten them once or twice is a dangerous thing to do for a competitive player, because complacency kills. Getting cocky kills. Play someone properly. Don't start messing around and doing funny setups and doing all this cool stuff that you wouldn't do to a player that you respect. And then when it messes up, it messes you up and you lose. No. If you are confident enough in what you're doing, and you can win with it, then by all means do it. But don't play somebody thinking, well, I'm clearly the best and this person's clearly a scrub, therefore I can do something stupid to them and just get away with it. That's really silly. You don't have to, quote-unquote, respect a player's gameplay, but respect the person. Be a good sport about it. Keep the trash talk, keep the dumb gameplay and all that kind of stuff within the game. It really bothers me when people take what happens within competitive games into sort of the real world. And I'm not talking about fake drama. Like, drama's fun. Like, that's whatever. But when people take the fact that they beat someone a bunch of times in a video game into real life, and they start disrespecting someone and treating them as if they're free wins and this person's a scrub, so no one should take him seriously and all that kind of stuff. Like, not only is that alienating to a person, but it's very demoralizing because this person probably wants to play. They probably want to get better. They probably want to do well. But if you're treating them like, oh, nobody cares about you, get out of here because you're bad at this game, then you're not going to help this person grow. You're not going to foster an environment where people want to learn and get better. If all you do is beat people and then ostracize them for being beaten, how is anyone ever going to get better? How are you ever going to get competition? And if you're the sort of person who you don't like winning too much because that's boring. I hate when people say that. You know, if you don't like winning too much because that's boring, well then where are you going to get competition from if you act like a douchebag to everyone who's trying to get better? If you meet someone, you're like, oh, you're a scrub, get out of here, and you don't play that person, well, guess what? You'll have no competition because, you'll be king of your mountain, your lonely mountain at the top. No one's ever going to challenge you because every time someone does, you just send them away. What fosters a good community within competitive games is learning and growing together, having various gameplay skills that mesh together to make a whole. What's really cool about that is you're able to get people who have different ideas, different tactics. They might approach something differently. And there's no wrong way of playing. It's very destructive to say to someone like, oh, you're playing the wrong way because you're not doing this, this, and that. If the person's winning, then who cares? A fighting game is about winning, about achieving the objective, about depleting the life bar, getting the percentage up. It's not about who follows this top player's combos or who's doing the best setup they read on a forum. No, it's about figuring out different strategies and incorporating the ones you like. So you could make up strategies if you want. You could find them out from YouTube and forums. That's still very useful. But the point is that players are supposed to develop in unique and interesting ways. There can be some overlap, but it's not a good thing. It's never a good thing to just look at someone and be like, oh, you're a scrub. Well, I beat you once or twice, therefore I can play I can play you however I want. I can treat you however I want. It's like that. That's not an interesting person. That's a douchebag. That's not the sort of player you want to be associating with. Because if someone's going to be a bad sport about it and not even be helpful or interesting, that's not cool. I mean, there's place for grandstanding and there's place for divas. Like, I'm not really a fan of divas. I always kind of hate diva mentality in competitive games, if I'm honest. Like, to me, the best players are people who are good but humble, actually interesting people. Like, divas just talk a big game, but if they can't put up, then they just look like idiots. So I would rather someone be a decent player and have a good heart behind it than be an okay-ish player and grandstand a lot because few people can challenge him. Like, to me, that's not the type of player that I feel like I would personally support. Other people can support him just fine, but I personally don't support that. Because for me, if you're going to play a competitive game, you don't have to, as I said, respect a person gameplay-wise. You can play them however you want, but don't play them based on the assumption that, well, they're a scrub, therefore I can do whatever I want to them, and there's nothing they can do. And because, I mean, we've seen it. These matches where people play incredibly stupid because they think this person is bad, therefore they should be losing, therefore they're not going to adapt, they're not going to change their strategy, they're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over, and thinking, well, he's a scrub, he should fall for it, right? Like those people who go for like this really wacky setup and then the scrub blocks it, and they're like, oh, how did you block that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, maybe this person isn't a scrub, and maybe this person actually knows what they're doing, and, maybe you should actually start playing them properly instead of being stupid. Because I've been in a lot of situations like that where people might have beat me once or twice and they instantly assume, well, they're not that good, so then they start patronizing me, they start giving me tips like I don't know the game or something like that. And then when I actually accomplish something, everyone's all surprised, like, oh wow, he actually did it. I'm like, really? Just because you see someone not doing something doesn't mean that they don't know or they don't know how to do it. If I could Like, let's just use a fighting game I play as an example. I could meet the best cross Tekken player in the world. I wouldn't know he's the best cross Tekken player in the world. And let's just say that he plays me, right? But he's at the top of his game, and I just get the drop on him. I hit him a bunch of times with a few, setups, Lars, EXI, and entry, and just body his stuff, right? And I beat him. And would I then think that I'm the best player and he's the worst player, therefore I shouldn't respect him, I shouldn't respect his skill, and then everything will be smooth sailing? No, you might argue that if he's the best cross Tekken player, then surely he should beat me free. Well, not necessarily, because fighting games, there's an element of RNG, nothing's ever guaranteed, and people can lose, people can mess up, that's just the way it is. But if I then think, okay, well, this person's clearly a scrub because I beat them easily, and then I start playing dumb, and they beat me like 10-0 or whatever, like 10-1, I guguess, if this is a 10-0, what's his name, first to 10 set. If this person then beats me 10-1, then that's my fault for assuming that just because I didn't get to see their stuff, that they are a scrub and I'm the best player and I can do whatever I want. Like, that's not how you should be playing someone. You should be reacting to them, you should be reading them, you should be figuring out their patterns as you play. You don't just hit a person a few times. Because think of it this way. It's easy to think someone's bad if you see them just getting hit. Like, if you hit someone a bunch of times and catch them in a combo, right? Well, you don't know what setups they've got. You don't know what combos they've got. You don't know what their footsies are like. If you're juggling someone in the air or hitting them with sweeps or whatever, that doesn't show anything about the player's prowess. It shows that they mess up their spacing. It shows that, as I said, you got the drop on them. It shows that, they weren't careful enough and they weren't blocking low or whatever. In those respects, those are ways they're messing up. Those are ways they have to improve, right? But if you're actually on the receiving end of their crap, what are you going to do then? Because let's just say you play somebody, right? And because you're always on the offensive and you're getting the drop on them, right? You think, oh, this is free, this is easy. But let's just say there's a gap. You mess up, you slip up something, and now they're on the offensive, you're on the defensive. If you don't learn how to be on the defensive, how are you going to stop this person? Because let's just say you've always beat this person by constantly being on the offensive. What happens when they're in your face? You don't know how to block them. You haven't had to block them because you thought this person's a scrub. I don't have to learn how to block him. But then now he's in your face. He's fighting you. You're gonna have to learn that. And I feel like there's some players who don't do that because they're constantly getting these lucky breaks where they meet people and they beat them and they think this person's a scrub. I can do whatever I want. But when this person is in their face, giving them offense, they know what to do. So my advice to people is don't underestimate anyone. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, this person could pick up the game day one, but you never know. This person could be decent. Until you've played this person extensively, until you've figured out how they are, don't assume something. Some person could say, I bought the game today and I was practicing a few rounds. That doesn't mean that's free wins. Some people pick up the game really fast. Some people are sharks, dude. Some people they smell blood in the water and they're just there, just like that. Some people pick up games really fast. And you have to be aware of those people. You can't just say, well, I've owned this game for 2 years. This person bought this game last week, therefore I'm going to win free. Like, it depends on the game. Like, certain games, the skill gap is considerable. But I've met people who picked up a game within a week, and they're like actually giving me decent matches. And that's great. That's the kind of atmosphere you should foster. But you shouldn't have this kind of, club, treehouse club mentality where it's like, you have to climb your way up the ladder to be up with the big boys, and because I'm a big boy and you're a new scrub, therefore I have to break you in and haze you and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, that's dumb. Like, that's not a way to be treating people. If they can prove themselves within the gameplay, then that's fine. And if this is a person who wants to learn and wants to be active, then you should promote and encourage that. You shouldn't look down on people and make them feel like they're unwelcome, or make them feel like because you can beat them in a video game that they're worthless as a human being. Like, never take what you do in games into real life and then make that a basis of how to treat people, because that's not right. And you should never think because you can beat someone that this person will be someone you can always underestimate. Therefore, you should never be afraid or respect the stuff that they're doing. Like, just don't be patronizing. Don't be a douchebag like that. And mind you, I could be preaching to the converted here. If you're already a person who does this, then that's great. If you're someone who does this and doesn't care, then obviously my words fall on deaf ears. But it's more of a cautionary tale to people, saying that you should never get complacent, because power corrupts. It really does. And people go on power trips. And it's easy to be in a position of power and think, because I'm good, I'm going to underestimate everyone because I'm the best. To stay the best, you gotta have a really decent balancing act. When you're at the top, things are even harder. Like, imagine being at the top of a very, very long pole. The higher you get up, the less stable it is, the more you're gonna have to balance. You can't rest easy. Or think about being the first place in a race in a racing game. When you're in first place, you got all those 7 cars or however many targeting you. You know, you've got tons of crosshairs on your back. You have to stay active. You have to be careful because when you're in the back and you're racing ahead, you just have to worry about getting past people. When you're in front, you have to worry about all the obstacles you have to avoid, possible explosions, depending on the game, or what items they're going to throw at you if it's Mario Kart. Like, when you're in first, when you're at the top, you have to stay at the top. A top player doesn't stay a top player because he thinks he is, or because he says he is, or she. They stay at the top because they're able to consistently do that. To me, it's about proving it. That's why within gameplay, you can't just sit down and establish, well, I'm a decent player, therefore I deserve to win. No, prove that. And don't look at the other player and think, well, this person's a bad player, therefore they deserve to lose. No, you have to see if they win or lose. And even if they lose, don't be like, well, you're a scrub, you know, and you can never beat me, ha ha ha. Be like, okay, well, you lost, but you can learn from that, you can improve, you know, do more, come back, try again. Right? And then maybe they win, and maybe they teach you something, and then you have to step up your game. And you develop together. That's the best way to foster decent, interesting competition. I mean, that's all I wanted to say. I hope people understood where I'm getting at. I mean, the point is, I'll repeat it, you know, just once more. Don't patronize. Don't treat people in real life as you treat someone in a video game, obviously. Don't take the drama in competitive games into real life and actually be a douche to people because you beat them in a game. Like, that's not okay. Like, that's all I want to say. Let me know your thoughts on it. Obviously, this is my opinion, but let me know your thoughts on that kind of, like, attitude mentality. This is JST. See you guys later.